G'day. After years of scoffing at reality television series where they got 3 days to do something or other, it happened to me today. I got a call asking whether I could modify a shower chair for someone, but the problem was that they needed it back that day, so they were ready for showering tomorrow morning. So basically I picked it up at around about 10:30 and worked through till probably about 3ish on it to get it done. And the way it was explained to me was it was going to be an aluminium chair and it just needed to have a bent bit straightened up and everything would be fine. When I got there, it turned out the chair was steel, and the reasons for modification were not just straighten that bit up, but can you remove that entirely and put it somewhere else? So it was interesting. This is the basic problem. This backrest, the top loop here sticks up a little bit too far. So I've been asked, can I relocate it? This bit just slots onto the top of the frame here. So if I cut that off and move that, then there's nothing holding this frame. And this has to line up with the frame of the chair so that the seat can go on. The other problem I have is that these straps are PVC. And if I weld anything near here, I'm likely to burn near the weld, and I'm probably going to melt the rest of the strap. So I'm going to have to take out these rivets, hold the frame somehow, cut it, notch it, weld it on here, keeping it as low a profile as I can. This is also steel, it's chrome plated. So there's a few issues that I have to sort out here. But I have a plan. I've taken off the straps here because when I weld, those things are going to melt or burn or whatever, and I don't want that. So what I want to do is actually put some bracing across between these things so that when I do weld, it won't, and I cut this piece out, it won't move on me. What I've got is some 20 by 3 steel. Unfortunately, that sits at around about a 25 degree off square thing, so it's an awkward one to do, but I'm going to use my little bending press in the vise to actually put a kink on those. I'm going to bend one on each end, rivet them in place, and then weld the two sides together so that I get shall we say a solid bracing. I may put something across the diagonal, I don't know yet. See how it all goes. But that will then mean I can cut that, and these two uprights will stay in the same relative position to each other. So here you can see the bracing frame shaping up. A couple of strips of material riveted into the existing holes. Spot of TIG where they join. I didn't do any prep on that. If it was a weld that had to be permanent, well then you would. But I just welded straight through all the oxide and things. It'll be strong enough. And then I put a bracing bar across here that's welded on those sides. The reason for that is I wasn't sure whether I would, but then I thought, well, the only time that you find out when you needed a bracing bar was when you don't have one and it goes pear-shaped, and this I can't afford to go pear-shaped. So there we go. So this should be all braced up. I put a texture mark on there before I took the straps off to mark the top of the strap, and so I'll then go through there with a saw or an angle grinder probably, and take that off. Reshape this so I can put that between the bars there, and fingers crossed go from there. Here's my frame. My bracing frame is stable. I'm certainly not going to be subjecting it to large loads, but it's good enough just to hold everything in place. I've cut off the top of the tubes. Now I've got some round plugs in there, but as you can see that's not round. So after I've got this handle back in place and I know what I'm doing there, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on that to try and round that up a little bit. but that's relatively minor. There's the handpiece. I've cut off the bends and I'm going to put that there. Now, it's a bit too close for a cutter to come in and do all sorts of crazy things, so I think I'll just rough that out with an angle grinder and take it from there. I'm going to have to clean up the chrome from here anyway to get a decent weld, and if I use a texter, I can probably just trace the shape I need to get enough of a good fit. So it might be a bit of trial and error with that one, just chopping with the angle grinder till I get a reasonable fit on there. I don't want this sticking out too far, because then it has the same problem that it had when it was here, but at the same time the chair needs this as a brace to support it structurally, as well as something for someone to hang on to if they need to manoeuvre the chair. Here's the frame. I sort of put a roughly 30-degree notch in there and then just trimmed up the edges with the bench grinder there to try and get a really good fit. When doing thinner wall stuff like that, that's quite important. I've gone around there with the TIG. I'll probably have to put a squirt of rich zinc primer on there just to make up for the lack of chrome in that area. Same with this side, hasn't turned out too badly. Next step is to take off the frame, so just drill some rivets out and see whether it still fits, I guess. That's going to be the important part. Should do. And then knock out these, what would you call them? Notches, dimples, whatever. They're actually part of the bend, so they can take a round plug. This is where we are so far. The weld seemed to work quite nicely. I've sprayed this with zinc rich primer, but the gas was running out, so it blobbed rather than sprayed. I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit, but the straps will be around there anyway, so it won't matter quite as much. I need to pop these out so that I can put a cap in the end. That's going to be interesting, but we'll see how we go with that. Two things I'm going to use. One is the Nippex Pliers. Now, I don't know, these are not sponsored, but I don't know whether people have discovered these or not, but they're a parallel jaw plier using a rack and pinion device. And one of the interesting things is that the force in there is quite phenomenal. If you can imagine a normal plier with a pivot, you get quite a bit of force there, but not so much out here. Whereas these ones, because they're a rack and pinion arrangement, have an even force. So I'm thinking that these will probably shape that up quite nicely. I need a better clamping on that. The other thing I've done is made up a stake out of just a bit of rusty rod I had sitting around the place. When I get close to round, I'll put that in there and drive that in just to try and round that up a little bit. Exact size doesn't matter, exactly round doesn't matter, but it needs to be round enough to take one of those plastic pushing caps. So I've got my caps on. Won't say I've rounded up the tube, but I've got it round enough that the caps will sit in there. They're there. The next thing to do is put these straps back on. And that should be quite straightforward, I hope. Just have to work out which one's the right size. These are taking a large head rivet. The standard rivet head is about half that size. These are there because this is a soft plastic material, and so the bigger head area helps spread the load. Trying to find these on a weekend is next to impossible. If anybody is looking for these are the only colour I could find, which was black. I'm going to try and take the paint off, and these came from the big green store, but they're about the only ones I could find readily. So yes, if you're trying to put rivet soft material onto metal, these are the go, but you probably need to go to an industrial fastener shop to get the rivets normally. Here it is, the finished repair, alteration, bodge, whatever you want to call it. So I've taken the bar that used to be up here, chopped off a little bit of the corner, shaped it so it'll fit here, welded that around there, put a spot of rich zinc on there, plastic caps in the ends here, and then riveted the straps back on. So it's all ready to go. I've checked the width across here where the seat goes, and that's what it should be. Hold everything. I got a call from the client. I delivered the wheelchair thinking it's all done and dusted, and they came back and said, it's good, but it doesn't quite fit. There was a situation which neither he or I had anticipated. Could I come and get it and modify it again? So I did that. Unfortunately, the modification meant that I had to make up a complete new frame because the existing steel frame couldn't be cut and shut anymore. So back to the not quite drawing board. Here I am back again. The bar that I did, that one, worked quite nicely, except that it sticks out a bit too far. Bashes into to furniture. So can we make it a little bit smaller? Now, with this it's a bit difficult because the corners are deformed, and I haven't got the material there. So what I'm going to do is, using this scrap of stainless tube here, I'm going to make up another one. So same as before, cut that off, and I'm going to sculpt that so it fits on the tube. Cut the other end off this. Cut the other end off this tube here to match, and then join it together, make up a U-shaped bar. And because this is stainless and that's just chrome-plated steel, I'll then cut a couple of lengths of this to form uprights. So I've cut my back bow to size, and that'll fit just nicely there, like so. I hope it's better. So that's all good. So I just need to weld that and then scallop the ends. These pieces here, the uprights, I've run a drill down the end there just to take it out a little bit. It was a slightly under and wouldn't be a nice sliding fit on the wheelchair. But I've got the holes for the straps in there, and then they've got another hole down here on these. So what I'm going to do is I'll just put that there, get my texter, run along, and I've got a straight line there which I can then mark out where I want things. The last thing I need to do here is duplicate these hooks. Now, I don't know what these hooks do, and that's always a bit of a problem. I don't even know whether they're used. So I have to do my best to duplicate them as well as I can. There's a plastic sleeve that goes over the top, but apart from that, they're just a hook comes through, is welded on this side. So I've already drilled the holes in my tubing for that, and so it's just a matter of shaping that hook. To duplicate these, I'm cold bending this bit, and then I'm hot bending this because it's just too hard in stainless to form. This is actually a bit of stainless rod which I picked up from a yard sale. So I put that bend in, I put that in there after heating this to red hot, clamp it up, and then bend it round. To do my bending, I've got a bit of pipe here. This is a trained bit of pipe. I try not to use it for anything else. But what it does is it means that I can bring that up there where I'm making the bend, and it'll keep this section here relatively straight. So it's worth having something like this if you're going to bend a lot of particularly thicker stuff, because it just means that you don't get that. You get a reasonably sharp bend. You don't get that horrible sort of half sharp, half soggy bend. If some of you are wondering why I'm using my mill table as the basis of my bending jig here, this is 1.2 tons worth of cast iron, and so a little bit of gentle pulling won't hurt it, and it also won't move, which is really, really nice. If you've ever tried bending something on a rickety bench, it just doesn't work. So that's why I use the mill table. So just to wrap up where we are, I've made up the stainless bar here and welded it on, replaced the straps, polished up the heads like I did with the previous ones, These were just the hooks. I plug welded them in just from the back there as per the original, just to get the shape right. I traced the original on a bit of paper there and held that under there until I was happy with the profile. The hot bending got me very close, but it wasn't quite to my liking. So other than that, it fits. It's ready to be taken back. We'll see how this one goes. Thanks for watching.